Welcome back to week 1, day 5 of the LPL. We're in the middle series, OMG versus Rogue Warriors, and we're right in the middle of it. Best of 3, Rogue Warriors currently 1 game up. I'm your host, doing my best Dash impression as Indiana Frosky and Black. I'm here with the sensual and lovely, I don't know why I went with sensual, I'm so sorry, Raz.
I'll take it.
Muhammad.
I'll take it, you know?
See, this sexism. I can't do that, but you can? This is unfair, Raz!
Hey, alright, you called yourself Dash, and you already have a few barriers to be just like him.
That's fine. That said, going into this one, we do have a bit of a plug because we got some awesome English content coming out just for our English LPL viewers. Our very own Clement Chu, he's over on the cast right there, is going to be doing a new series called Face to Face, where he's going to sit down with the LPL coaches, and if you submit a question to us on Twitter over at LPL English, you can actually have the opportunity for Clement to ask Coach Steak that question. Of course, Coach Steak coaching Rogue Warriors, the team that we're seeing in the series right now.
Yeah, ask him a few questions about it, because remember,
Vanna White this.
This is actually beautiful.
Okay, it's over.
But remember,
this is hard.
I'll say just about this. This is really nice. I would say just to be able to ask him a few questions about coming from the LMS into a new league.
If you could ask him anything, Raz, what would you ask him?
How hard is it to build a new team of just players that don't know anything about each other? That seems pretty damn difficult because he's been with Flash Rolls for so damn long. And he's like, familiarity, excellent. I know you guys. And we've been together for how many years? And then he goes to a new team and it's like, well, actually, I have no idea how you play. Theoretically, this should work, but it never does. So there's going to be a few roads to go by. So I think that's a great question if some of you can ask. If you don't ask it, I will do it myself.
I was going to say you can just get over there on Twitter and put it in yourself. That said, building new teams, OMG, also the team that Rogue Warriors are facing, are rebuilding themselves. You know, losing SMLZ, the AD carry for Rogue Warriors, this is why we call them the Revenge Team, the Revenge Tour. SMLZ wants to rub that salt in that wound, beat his old team. They've now got Chelly down there. They just picked up the LMS jungler Mountain from AHQ. Icon, of course, kind of a staple, but OMG still trying to find, are they a puppy? Are they a dog? Have they grown up? Are they still that angsty teenager? Like, where are we?
You know what? A lot of people with their result-based analysis will be like, this is a loss. They're in the same position as before. A loss. No, but like this actually looked much better than we saw at last split, because last split we saw nothing. They were losing really early on in the game.
Something's better than nothing.
But yeah, exactly. Like they were losing in the laning phase when time and again they would force mid lane ganks, it would fall flat, and they would lose off that. But now they're literally working as a team.
Let's put a number on this, because it's one thing to say something is better than nothing. Let's say 0 to 10. Let's say last split, OMG were a solid 2.
Yes.
Where are we now?
We are, from what I've seen, a 5.
Wow. I would actually give him a bit of a 6.
I was about to say 6, but I felt like we haven't seen too much just yet that I was going to be conservative to my numbers.
You saw the support, you're like solid 5.
Yes. I actually thought that from what we saw this game, them executing, which was a poor play, which is just like trying to... Oh, actually, I just got that now. The moment you did that, I was like, all right, perfect. Good joke. I didn't catch it. But the moment they tried to use 5 to flank off of those with the Alistar pick, to be a lot more creative and making the fights worthwhile, even though I didn't like the strategy because I wanted to be on them to be on side lanes, I was like, this is something they didn't do last split. They're utilizing
actually
5.
have strategy.
Exactly. They're utilizing 5 to really set up for these team fights. So it seems like OMG is progressing as a team to make their team fights better, and the early skirmishes that happen around bottom lane a lot more decisive.
So this is a power ranking. Let's say if OMG are on the power rankings, they used to be a solid D category. We can go all the way up to S. Have they jumped up? Are we just sitting in C, or we reaching B tier right now with this team?
See, once again, I'm Mr. Conservative. I'm going to say C. But they're on the road to B. And you may be shaking your head at me, but I'll be making the last laugh when things start going wrong.
They have to be on that road because that road is literally facing downhill. It's not like they can't, go down that direction.
It's a little easier now picking that up. So I think it's a nice road for them. It's a really good road. And I think if they take this game, especially with how difficult it was for Rogue Warriors to take game 1, going to game 2, I think it should be well for them to be able to at least adapt to what they were throwing at them.
Okay.
Vandolution!
We're going to see if it's going to be a hard road for OMG, if they can fight back in the series. So Clement, Dom, let us know.
We're just about ready to get into that game number 2. And Clement, I got to ask you a question for you.
Okay.
How many roads must OMG walk down before they become a better team?
I'd say how many roads?
It's probably going to be 5.
Why can't they just walk down one road like roads lead directions? You don't need to
roads.
take multiple roads at the same time.
Way over the head, but that's totally fine because
Right.
we're getting right into this game number 2. And look, Frost got the chance to tell a terrible joke. I wanted to try and follow up
You
with
did.
my
You
own.
did follow up.
I did
Yeah.
tell my own terrible joke. But let's get into the actual matchup because this is an important question that we actually have to follow up on from the desk. Is what is holding OMG back? They finally are showing us some growth here in this series. Like we said, we saw some intelligent flanks out of 5 on the far side. We started to see some more intelligent team fighting as well. Icon got the chance to pop off. Mountain was making intelligent plays on the bottom side, but still, we're giving them a 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10. We're putting them in the C tier.
What they're lacking is what they've always been lacking since spring, a second carry that is behind Icon, because Icon's champion pool does not deal sustained damage. They need a second person to fill in that role. You're not going to get it from Xiang. He's almost purely a tank player, and you're going to have to get it from Chelly instead. That's the big role I want to see them really fill up on. And the Rise on that game really didn't do much, and this is the problem. I understand the Rise. We've seen a couple times into the bot lane, but only as a counterpick against the Vladimir. A lot of times you're not willingly picking a Rod of Ages champion because that takes way too long to scale in the current meta. So I think they banked on the opportunity to get a possible flex pick for Icon a little bit too hard, and then ended up with a subpar carry in the bot.
I mean, this comes back to the conversation that we had a little bit earlier about the efficiency of certain items and certain champions, how they can use them in that first big team fight. And we kept on talking about it. We didn't really get the chance to see a very large 5v5 team fight. It was mostly small skirmishes that Rogue Warriors eventually snowballed into a big team fight later on. But that's still the style that these two teams were playing towards, even if we didn't get the chance to see it. So we heard it from Raz on the desk saying ban out the Lucian because he's got that Blade of the Ruin King. He has the ability to use multiple stats and start to dance around in these big fights. It was able to, we were able to see Rogue Warriors play an 80 carry in this. Is that a strategy OMG can go towards?
I do think banning out the Lucian is probably something they want to look at. Lucian is the most played champion, 80 marksman champion so far in the LPL, and it's for good reason. It's less about the Blade of the Ruin King and more about the Essence Reaver that's really killing everyone.
The second item swag.
Yeah, because the synergy between Double Tap and Essence Flare, the passive where you do get 20% of your cooldown refunded on your non-ultimate abilities, that works just way too well. And you can see him in those late game team fights gliding around, able to reposition himself incredibly easily. So you do want to kind of shut that down, or either focus champions that can take Lucian completely out of the game.
Yeah, so then to spin the conversation back towards Chelly, how do you try to limit down this Lucian? How do you try to limit down a champion, player like SMLZ who plays Lucian, who plays Draven and Kog'Maw? Is it just ban away all of those champions and leave the jungle open for Flawless?
To be honest, I would like them to ban away Lucian. I think Lucian is just head and shoulders a bit too strong in the meta currently, so maybe you want to take a look at that one. Kog'Maw and Draven, they have very specific win conditions. You can target them in lane, and I think Mountain has made a name for himself actually ganking into the bot lane. So I would be more comfortable if SMLZ was on either of those than on the Lucian pick, because Lucian gives you just way too much teamfight mobility, is too hard to catch. And if you think about Icon's champion pool, they really don't have the kind of a meat grinder style where they go all in on the bruisers in the mid lane or the control mages on the mid lane.
Well, it seems like we're about to find out what OMG's answer will be as we get ready to enter picks and bans for Game 2 between OMG playing against former teammate of SMLZ. Looks like Rogue Warriors find themselves on the red side this time, as again we have a triple jungle ban. Camille, Graves, Talia, the exact same as in Game 1. Rakan, Ornn, and there's the Lucian.
Just look at Mountain's face right here. He knows who he's facing up against. Stake has played Mountain plenty of times, and he knows that in this meta, Mountain can actually become a very strong hard carry. Graves was actually one of his best champions in the LMS, so they're trying to force him off of that. Now OMG, they're thinking about it, but once again, they're pivoting back to the Trundle. I'm not totally in love with this. I think this is a pick that can let you deal with Mouse very easily in terms of the team fights, but it's not as good at snowballing in terms of the early game. I would have preferred to see a Xin Zhao and for them to just hard snowball Icon.
We're not seeing that. Instead, once again, a supportive style jungler coming out of OMG. They are on blue side, so they won't get counterpicked later on for Icon unless they decide to show it now. As Mundo is again locked in for Rogue Warriors, and now a Nocturne on top of it. Flawless with a laugh and a smile as he locks it in.
We're definitely seeing this crop up as the most played jungler in the LCK. In this meat grinder meta, it works so well because you can try to target out a single person in the team fight and assassinate him immediately. It also works really well if you have good team coordination. On OMG's side, we are seeing them think about the Yasuo Trundle composition. If you have your jungle roaming up towards the mid lane, you can snag insta-kills incredibly easily with this combo. The pillar does give you a short knockup, and Yasuo can follow up.
And we now know that Yasuo is locked in. That can go to Icon. That can also go to Chelly and fill that role. We could see if this is going to be flexed and see what OMG decide to take from here. Support's still open. Or a top laner singed before that gets banned away.
This is pretty interesting because usually Mundo is considered a counter into Singed. Mundo is very good at stacking magic resistance just with his Burning Agony, and that DOT does help him stack it much faster. So this type of pick is, you really want to think about what you want to do with it, and my theory here is that they're looking at Nocturne, they're looking at the potential Fiddle, and they're thinking about, okay, this is going to be a semi-fragile composition, and we're going to have a hard engage option with the Singe, and Singe also does synergize with the Yasuo as well.
Still plenty of ways to try and catch up and force a fight out with Rogue Warriors. That was a problem for OMG in Game 1. 5 filled that void on his Alistar, which is now banned away. So we'll see what OMG use to fill out the rest of their damage now that they've got that Singe to just run and kick things off for them. Because right now, Rogue Warriors, they seem to be running a similar strategy. They've got Nocturne for diving into the back. They've got the Fiddlesticks for diving into the back. They've got Mundo for doing whatever the heck he wants.
I do think the dynamics have slightly changed here. OMG is now the one that's looking for the all-in type of team fights. They're the one that are going to run into the enemy team composition. And Rogue Warriors is very intelligently banning out everything that can provide a knockup for Yasuo. This composition from OMG is mainly about the engage, but they are kind of dwindling on options to synergize right there. The champions with the most game wins currently in the patch are Alistar, Ornn, and Rakan, and they've been completely banned out by Rogue Warriors. So I really do like what Rogue Warriors is doing here. They have a very strong read, strong understanding of the meta that's evolving.
And now we've got Rise banned away. We'll see Karthus locked in for Rogue Warriors. And this is something that is actually a thing. This is something that actually exists right now. Karthus has been played in the LCK. It's not been super successful, but he's making a comeback.
But usually we see Karthus teamed up with the Nunu and have him play in that primary position where he can take mid lane farm and also all of the jungle farm. But they don't have that synergy this time around, so I'm kind of curious on what he's going to go for. On the other hand, OMG is reading this and they're saying, okay, if you're going to go through the Karthus, I'm going to make you an ATM. I'm actually going to run the hardest lane counter possible in the Akali.
Just cash out on that mid lane as much as you possibly can. Akali locked in. The timer's running down on Pyke. OMG looking at the hard all-in composition. They lock it down, and they are going in one direction. They are going in on Rogue Warriors.
So Pyke does provide another avenue for Yasuo to get his last breath off. And I actually don't think this Karthus is going to be running in the mid lane position. Like we said, if he's in mid, it's usually paired with the Nunu. But this Karthus is actually going to be a bot lane AD carry Nunu. Very AD carry Karthus.
Yes.
He's going to be very safe farming with his layways from a very long distance. And they do have synergy in terms of the anti-magic resist that Fiddlesticks can put on people.
And just to be clear, this is the first Akali of 8-11, and it's going to Icon, the Hitman, in the mid lane.
He's only going for assassins.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah.
Icon is so easy to read.
Yeah, but that being said, you and I were just talking about the vulnerabilities of assassins because they don't just have to snowball and get a few kills. Icon did that in game number 1. They have to be relevant throughout the course of the entire game and constantly be able to find picks.
The profile for an assassin is that they deal less damage over a sustained period of time, but they're very good at killing certain targets very fast. And the composition that Rogue Warriors has built has basically been somewhat of an anti-Icon composition. There's not a lot of champions you really want to kill. Killing Karthus first is not going to solve your problems. Like Revenge doesn't make pain go away, and in fact, it actually extends it in Karthus' case.
If anything, you should tell that to Pyke, the revenge support in the bottom lane, another assassin-style champion. So OMG, maybe they're just trying to embody that to the fullest, bring the rage of their fire, the fire of their rage, sorry, to bear against Rogue Warriors as we get into this game 2. SMLZ dropping the emote surrender flag in game 1, and OMG do anything but that with their champions in this game 2.
I'm actually surprised he spent the time to tee that up. You know, you actually do have to make sure of that
Go into the
in
account,
settings.
make sure the emote is bound,
Yeah, so this was definitely pre-planned murder.
Premeditated emote spam, as we can only expect from one of the most emotive players in all of League of Legends. But that said, the fans are still packed into the arena to cheer on both Rogue Warriors and OMG. We already heard how loud the Rogue Warriors fans were in Chengdu. Will they have a repeat performance after their game 1 win, or will OMG show they've got the double assassins, they've got that Yasuo? Will they be able to bring us to this game 3?
So what OMG wants to do is, of course, get the assassinations off, but Rogue Warriors has not presented them with many targets at all. It's actually going to be fairly easy for Rogue Warriors to defend Karthus or Fiddlesticks, and even if Karthus goes down, is it really that much of a loss?
Fans still as loud as ever. And to get to your question, Clement, if Karthus goes down, is it really a loss? If a Karthus dies and no one's around, does a tree still fall in the forest, I think? Is that's how it goes?
I believe it does, but the question then is, does anyone hear it?
Ah, yes. If Karthus uses Requiem and there's not a Nunu around, does it still obliterate opponents?
Probably will.
Yeah,
So,
well, hey, that's
on the basics of this composition, if it goes to the super late game, we're talking about full items. Rogue Warriors will smash the team fights. You're talking about two assassins that do have a lot of mobility, but their constitution is quite fragile, and even a dead Karthus could probably deal with them pretty easily. So for OMG to win this game, they have to snowball from start to finish.
We'll have to see if they can do that, because it's going to be quite the journey. Killua steps forward, immediately tosses out the Dark Wind, but 5 is ready with that Bone Skewer to pull him right back in. Already some damage being traded back. But SMLZ drops a few Skittles for some damage trade, and again, the Dark Wind just continuing to bounce. Rogue Warriors are following up with lane control again in this game 2. We've got double red start from both of our junglers, though.
And this lane will continuously go into Rogue Warriors' favor with the double AP mages pushing in the lane. OMG, they need to wait until they have the jungle there and go for an all-in. That's the only way they step up into this bottom lane.
In the mid lane, Doinby still trying to control this lane against Icon on that Akali. It's been a long time since we've seen that champion. Last was in the North American Academy, the Challenger League, and EU LCS in 2017 before that. So still not exactly the new Akali just yet. Still following the same style that we're expecting, but Flawless might be looking for some action bottom.
They do have the lanes pushed in, but I'm actually quite curious if he can actually do anything. I think he's here mainly to prevent the all-in coming from OMG. He knows that it's going to come sometime, so he's just trying to map out the possible paths that Mountain has into this bot lane and keep his Karthus alive. The thing about Akali is, even though we haven't seen her for quite a long time, she's actually been doing very well in terms of solo queue. We have high challenger Akalis in Korea and, of course, in North America as well. And the changes to her have been about her sustainability. She's much stronger in lane. Here comes the stun.
Already we can see a bit of the all-in using Wind Wall from Chelly. Drain still pulling that health back as the tether is not a projectile. Killua just trying to use that Dread passive from inside of the brush. But like you said, going back to that mid lane, the sustainability a little bit better for that Akali. Still taking the Dorian's shield, as he is expecting to eat some damage out of Doinby on this Kled again for the 3rd time.
Should be relatively safe in this lane, dodging all of the Qs we've seen so far. In terms of the bot lane trade, I actually see a lot of players misjudging how far Bone Skewer can get, because that actually goes longer than Rocket Graph. It has 1100 range. So if you're not careful and you let him charge it up, it's actually very easy to kill you. Oh, this is one of the few paths that isn't
Mountain
scouted
flashes over from the side, but the all-in, they've found SMLZ, and they're trying to get the kill, but they trade it back 1 for 1, and Killua will go down, turning it into a 1 for 2. Finally, SMLZ will pass down into the grave. 5 trying to catch up, plus the Dark Wind bouncing back and forth. Mountain is low, and Killua walks away. It does end up being a 1 for 1.
So this really isn't worth it unless OMG can continue to snowball this. Mountain already expended his flash coming in, and if you look at the summoners, they also expended everything from 5 as well.
Yeah.
So I would say this is kind of an opportunity for them to snowball, but not a done deal yet. But this is a good showcase, however, of what Mountain is known for. He's known for creative pathing into ganking that bot lane. The reason why in Season 5, HQ turned from a 4th place team in the LMS to a 4th place team in the MSI was because of the addition of Mountain, and he ganks bot lane incredibly well.
Icon trying to pop Doinby off of Skarl there as the wave just continues to trade in. Mountain, as you said, finding that first creative ganking path. Not able to find the second, as Xiang is going to continue proxying on this Singed as expected, but there's the all-in. Ghostwater dive for the 2-man stun plus flash sets it up. And then it's an easy chase down to find the kill on the back, but not enough to get through that Karthus.
The thing about Karthus is that he is very capable of getting return kills, and we could see because of the lane push from Rogue Warriors, Chelly is always going to be quite low.
Flawless and Killua are trying to clear out this ward. 5 with the Mobies first on Pyke, looking for a very mobile build. And Killua's actually stepping up. They get the fear. He hops over the wall, just in order to escape, still just skirmishing over the vision, even taunting in front of his former AD carry, now playing Karthus of all champions.
It's very difficult to catch on to Pyke without a blinking ability because he can just pop his E, run backwards, and if you're anywhere on that path, he'll instantly stun you. So usually you can see Pyke's play fairly aggressive into enemy compositions.
There's the Ghostwater dive. Phantom Undertow is ready. Bone Skewer pulls Killua in as Icon joins in along with Xiang. The 4-man mob squad into the bottom lane. Killua will go down to the Shadow Dance from Icon. Meanwhile, SMLZ just trying to get himself into the minion wave so that he can clear these out. Double kill
and
to
they
Icon.
Give all the kills to the assassin player. Now, Akali is a champion that spikes incredibly hard once she has that gunblade. It's also very hard to run away from her. She's considered a counter to a lot of champions that are fairly mobile, but are a bit more fragile. So what she can do now is she can actually leave the lane with Mountain and try to find those kills on Flawless.
That is also going to stall the build out from Rogue Warriors in that bottom lane. SMLZ level 5, Shelly's level 5, but still 20 CS advantage for those two players. I was about to call them marksmen, but neither of them are playing marksmen.
Marksmen are dead.
They certainly are. As Xiang is going to get the fling onto Doinby, who gets pulled back onto the turret. Icon's up there as well. He's popped off his Skarl.
Dead.
Shadow Dance is ready, but Icon is dissuaded by a briefcase. He's trying to retreat out of this. Icon goes in, lands 1, plus the Shadow Dash and the Nocturne Paranoia. Flash gets Xiang out of there. The fight continues to break out, and it's a double kill for Mountain as Rogue Warriors are falling apart.
That's an Akali coming in with full stacks against Doinby with like no Skarl, and I think they just committed too much to the early portions of the fight against the Singed. Losing the mount there was pretty much a death knell for Doinby.
Ask not for whom the bell rings for thee, Doinby. As he ends up going down 0-1. Flawless also 0-1. Another 2 deaths on SMLZ and another onto Killua. Not a great start for the Rogue Warriors, but they have recovered more. And OMG on the assassin composition are finding assassination. So it all starts with the fling.
Yep. Doinby probably, like, he wanted to get out of the situation as fast as possible. Basically, he already knows he's dead by this point. He's unmounted. There's 2 people coming out the river already. And you can see Flawless, how easily he went down to the burst damage coming from Akali. Akali is an incredibly dangerous champion when Snowball, and she's already sitting at 2 kills and 2 assists. I mean, Rogue Warriors need to find their footing very fast in the game, or you're just going to lose all your scuttles. You're going to lose a lot of farm onto the jungle duel, which is happening already, and it's slipping away from them.
You can see perhaps they could be looking for it as 5. Hops over the wall, and the Requiem is being used. Doinby's actually going to dive into this. He's found Mountain. Paranoia is not yet ready for Flawless, but they will force OMG to back away from this bottom tier 1. Rogue Warriors with 4. Might be trying to force down this turret, but Icon is on the way. They're getting a lot of good damage. Bone Skewer pulls Doinby in, teleport. He's popped off the Skull.
He's coming in.
Dark Wind bouncing around, and they will get that turret. First brick to Rogue Warriors.
Clean execution at the end to get out of this sticky situation. You could see their composition and how they're thinking about getting picks. Karthus doesn't need to be anywhere near these fights, and they can collapse from a lane away with Doinby on the Kled. So that's a very interesting composition to have, but unfortunately a bit of a missed execution, got the wrong target when they were going for the duo in the bot lane, and still managed to walk away with the first brick though.
And that is going to get some gold into Rogue Warriors' coffers, but look at this. Xiang, he's even in CS against Mouse, but he's just proxying everything. Flawless only missing a single small Raptor.
We do have to note that Flawless is being pulled to his bot lane very often, and because of that, he's losing out on a lot of farm. Like, if you look at Mountain right now, he's sitting at 30 CS up. Nocturne is one of those champions that does need to stay ahead. His job is to assassinate the backline, and that only comes with a lot of gold and items. So seeing the Nocturne at this state is quite a worrying trend for Rogue Warriors.
Certainly should be. 30 CS down, like you said. The Bomby Cinder going to be completed into Cinder Hulk and the Tiamat, whereas it's only just the double dagger and boots for Flawless on the far side. Xiang, like I was saying, still getting pretty big. And the Gunblade finished off for Icon. He is ready to do some damage. That said, SMLZ has finished off his Rod of Ages, and he's Karthus. So even if you do kill him, he's still going to do some damage off the back of the fight if you're not ready. But Xiang finds himself skirmishing with Mouse, and here comes the rest of OMG. 5 cashes up. Bone Skewer pulls Mouse back in, and he dies to the death from below with the gold going to Xiang.
That's the cool thing about Pyke, is that he allows you to snowball even harder than before. If he gets the kill with his ultimate, he does give 300 extra gold over to whoever did get the assist. So that was a 600, and of course there's even 600 kill total.
Paranoia onto the top lane. Spell Shield to get away from the Fling, plus good damage and the Terrify. And Flawless finds himself a solo kill onto an overextended Xiang. Rift Herald was started out by OMG, but they decide to back away as Rogue Warriors react and swap towards the top half of the map. This is that on-the-fly thinking from Rogue Warriors that helped them look so good in the spring split.
And the problem with OMG right now is that they're having kind of a hard time looking for objectives to neutralize the situation. Sure, they are finding kills here and there, but you can see Rogue Warriors, with those 2 plays, actually did secure the Herald as well as the push of potential into the top lane. It's kind of interesting that they just simply gave up onto the bot lane, however, and with all that gold going even more into Icon's pockets, that trend's going to continue. Like, the 2-man is not even there to contest against a single person in Icon. They're really afraid of him.
SMLZ is just happily emoting away in this mid lane. The Karthus makes a lot of sense against the Yasuo. He's 30 CS ahead. He's able to get through the wind wall. That's actually a stun landing, but a great Terrify prevents Xiang from stepping up with the Fling as he uses that Insanity Potion. And 3 versus 3 in that mid lane. Nearly 4 as Mountain and Flawless are just waiting on those sides.
We're running into the same question as the previous game. How do you snowball your assassin? There's been several different answers. You could put them into a side lane. You could try to go into the enemy jungle right here. And I think the former is the option that OMG has decided to go for. They don't really see people that can defend them, and what I think they're constantly going to try to do is put Icon against the 2-man from Rogue Warriors and try to create a lane where they can have priority.
So far, despite pressure from OMG, despite a gold advantage worth nearly 3,000, Rogue Warriors are still the ones who are starting to set the pace here, but they could be looking for something up top. Mountain and Icon hunting down Doinby. Clears out a ward as Mouse tries to control the bottom side. Again, it's the 1-3-1 out of Rogue Warriors with Doinby hanging out up top. And Mouse with that teleport ready in the bottom lane. But Doinby heads towards the mid with the Rift Herald. OMG are trying to skirt outside of vision. Rift Herald is being activated, and the pillar denies Shelly's channel. But the charge for revenge. 5 is the target, but Mountain tags the hit as 5 flashes over the wall. Icon still pushing a wave up top, not wanting to fight.
Great play there from 5, getting the Bone Skewer to stop the Herald.
Oh man, and trying to catch up to Xiang. Look at how fast he is. Shirelia's plus Flash and the Insanity Potion. Meanwhile, there's finally the collapse as Icon joins up. They found Killua out of position. He uses that stopwatch, but so does Icon. Paranoia for Flawless, and Icon resets. He's back out of the fight. Mountain over the side as Rogue Warriors. Ooh, not able to follow through, but here comes the Requiem. Icon is dead. It's not the double, though, but it certainly is close as Mountain is solo.
Icon getting caught out on the sides by Doinby right there.
Oh, Mountain, why did you step out of the turret? Mouse chucks a briefcase. He's telling him to take notes, but isn't finding the kill. They're setting up for a potential dive. Xiang's trying to get up to the minions, but Rogue Warriors, will they actually dive it? Doinby,
the pullback.
This is the one. It's Killua who's got aggro, and they find that kill onto Xiang, expertly juggled, and they're going to be able to get this turret.
And this wipes away all the deficits that Rogue Warriors has. They're just so fast on collapsing onto a single target. Most of their members can come in onto a fight from a lane away, and just Icon being caught out in an inopportune moment offered that opportunity to snowball incredibly hard for Rogue Warriors. Remember, most of the gold is on Icon. Without them, they really can't fight.
SMLZ is trying to run for his life right now. He's got Flash and Exhaust. Mountain drops the Pillar of Ice. But remember, he's up against Dekarthus. He's doing some damage. Even 5's getting in there with the Ghost Water dive. But it's Icon who wants the gold. No chance, and they find a kill, though the turret does fall.
I think it's quite poetic that SMLZ is actually playing on the Lich. Like,
why is that poetic?
Well, the guy kind of feels like one. But to the fight, of course, Icon getting low incredibly fast, trying to go back in up onto the ramp. And Karthus, once SMLZ found a good position where he wasn't going to get interrupted, goes for the simple kill. And that's the problem for OMG's compositions, that they really don't have that many targets they can assassinate. And Rogue Warriors can fly in from all directions so quickly that the game has stalled out from them. They don't have enough points that they can snowball.
And that creates a really scary situation. Only 1,000 gold down right now, and Infernal Dragon is up. Mouse sees the team as he just gets jumped upon by 2 people. The remaining 3 decide not to commit to it as Rogue Warriors. They've managed to find Mountain. Doinby just goes in. Paranoia forces the fight. Shelly is still behind them as they found the kill onto Mountain, and 5 is just forced to turn tail and run. Ghostwater dive for movement speed, but that can't escape from the bear trap on a rope as he's pulled back in, and Icon separated from his team. He's got no way to get out of this. He's going to try to turn and run. He dives in, but it gets feared, CC'd, looks for some damage, but it's not enough. Drain keeps Killua topped off as the rest of Rogue Warriors pick up the Infernal Dragon.
And that was just too easy from Rogue Warriors. They now have 2 unkillable people on their team roster, so they're very willing to just run their front line into OMG. As long as Karthus keeps his distance correctly, there's not much that they can do in a 5v5 scenario right here. So, you know, good game plan on Rogue Warriors to deny the assassination potential away from OMG, and OMG kind of falling on their own sword. They're very set on their ways.
Yeah.
Icon is great on assassins, but it's not really an assassin meta, and he's kind of paying the price for it.
And you know, we were talking about their slogan earlier. Hearing OMG say, "We will fight to the last," well, they will take assassins to the last with this current composition. The question is, will they be able to find enough picks to turn this around? You talked about needing a snowball to accelerate the pace of the game, and I can see you shaking your head no. But we always got to say, there's always a chance for them to turn it around. Rogue Warriors, will they make any sort of mistake that allows OMG back into the game, or do they have what it takes to just close this out clean and simple?
So Mundo has already level 2 on Sadism. There is nothing that stops regen on OMG's side. Mouse can now finish off Icon Chelly if on his own. So it doesn't really even matter if you get the first 2 kills. Like, Mundo's actually just going to win the fight for you. I think the game plan for Rogue Warriors is a little too simple. Just continue with the 1-3-1, make sure they can't repeatedly kill SMLZ, and wait for the late game.
We do see a rush top from OMG to take this tier 1. That's going to get some gold for them as recall has started for Chelly. Mouse.
It does look a bit like a trade, though. Like, they're going to get a good portion of this tower down as well.
Flawless trying to finish off those Krugs before he makes his way over. The minion wave bottom is still quite a ways off. Killua finally shows up as the wave crashes, and the tier 2 will go down, and the immediate charge. The Ghost Water dive allows 5 to escape. He could be trying to follow up, but not able to find a way in. And still, as we crest over to the 20-minute mark, like you said, it ended up just being a 1-for-1 turret trade. The 1-3-1 continues with SMLZ applying pressure in the mid lane.
That was a smart play from Mouse. He understood the situation, did not try to defend whatsoever, denied the kill from Rogue Warriors, and the trade was in favor of OMG. With the minion wave being pushed up that far and a Mundo that's basically unkillable, they now have a pretty easy path to set up toward making Baron plays.
Not to mention this bannered minion going to provide side lane pressure when Mundo isn't even there. Xiong, he's got his own banner of command to answer it. Let's see if he decides to wait for a cannon minion or uses it in another on another wave. But now Baron is up. Control over that side of the map is going to be a massive priority. That's why we see Doinby hanging out there with Killua. Teleport ready for Mouse, and he's already split pushing bottom, buying the attention of Icon.
Yep, he's really not afraid of Icon at this point, and they're just going to try and use this 4-1 type of split push. If the members from OMG want to grab onto the Mundo, easy chance at the Baron as well. So I just expect them to continue to do this, and it's really up to OMG at this point to try to find a catch somewhere.
Luckily, they do have the Assassin team comp, so if anybody could find a catch, it would have to be OMG. To hunt someone down, they're now maneuvering around the Baron. They don't want to take any chances that it gets snuck away by RNG. And still, Mouse is pulling the attention of Xiong and just constantly buying time on that side of the map. There's actually pings going down onto Icon right now. Doinby, he's got level 2 of the charge, uses the Ignite and actually goes in, lands the bear trap on a rope, plus Requiem coming down, and SMLZ doesn't quite find it though, but it's going to be Flawless who gets the kill. Still, the fight breaks out. 3 now make it 4 members. They find a kill as the Phantom Undertow goes for 1. Death from below, finds 1. But Flawless is still chasing it around as Mouse just pushes into the wave.
And that was so simple to execute. You know, Akali Assassin champion doesn't really have much health, but they're caught up in a really bad place here.
Yeah, there's no blast cone to get over the wall. Pillar of Ice slows Mouse. He's flung back in, finally dies, but SMLZ might be able to join into the fight. He lands a slow, but OMG, they've traded 1 for 1 on that. Not to mention the kill onto Icon earlier, trading for another 1 for 1. And it will diffuse.
But the damage is done here. As long as Rogue Warriors are not falling behind, they are moving ahead.
Icon, he's chasing down Doinby, pops him off of Skarl. He's got a few more shadow dances as he looks for the outplay. SMLZ skirmishing with 5 on the side, finds a kill, plus the fear and the drain. Icon going for the dodge, but this stopwatch prevents Icon from going in, and SMLZ is just going 1 versus 3 on the far side.
Here comes Mountain for the kill.
Against the world. Mountain dodges the Skittle, but can he dodge the last one? Gets out of range, but only barely.
Right
Plus a blast cone over the wall. Flawless. He sees it. There it is. Paranoia on the blue trinket. Locks down the kill. In all the chaos, it ends up being 1 member who goes down, SMLZ, for another 3 kills for Rogue Warriors.
And a 1-minute long team fight, but doesn't change the game state much at all. Rogue Warriors still firmly ahead in terms of the team fight compositions, and I think this is one of those things that OMG really does need to look at themselves and ask themselves, is an assassin always going to be our identity?
Uh-oh, Flawless. Ooh, able to make it to the wall in time. Spell Shield didn't have to block long enough, it just needed to get him close enough.
There's a reason we call Icon the best distraction in the LPL, because he's really flashy, but if you ask yourself in the late game, what is he actually providing to the team? A lot of times that's very difficult to answer, and you can see here, Icon wants to go for the hero play, good teleport coming in, but man, Fiddlesticks just deals with assassins so easily. That CC chain locking him down throughout the majority of the fight, and just a flash, salt on top of the injury. Support taking him down.
You're exactly right. That Fiddlesticks is getting some Fiddle stacks if he had a Magi Soul Stealer, but not going for that. Goes for the safe build instead with the Zanya's first as double Infernal now picked up by Rogue Warriors. Looks like the next dragon is going to be that Ocean. I believe that's also going to be the last elemental dragon of the game because the next will spawn at that 36-minute mark, which will make it an Elder. But now we're seeing OMG push up onto the top half of the map. They could be looking for a pick onto Doinby. They brought the whole family on this cart trip.
And Rogue Warriors has not been hesitant to engage on OMG at all. I think Doinby has played the Kled incredibly well. He's recognized the win condition. And you can see OMG, once they figure out they can't get a catch in any of these brushes, they need to back out because Mundos has already came up into the mid lane. If there's a 5v fight, they instantly lose that. So
that's a charge,
from
Doinby. He's chasing for Xiang and he misses. But still just going to start setting up some wards around this Baron. Banner of Command was used by Mouse in that bottom lane, so that's what we see Icon dealing with right now. And note, Icon does not have teleport, so Rogue Warriors are free to split across the map right now. Even Blue Trinket being used early by OMG to keep an eye on that Baron.
Rogue Warriors are playing it quite safe. They're only looking for engages once Mouse is actually in the fight. Remember, his teleport is still not up. So just taking it slow, and the question is, when are they going to start the Baron and start the bait?
Well, there's your answer, Clement, as they turn right onto it. 25 minutes almost exactly. Killua is ready, 5 steps up, spots it out, places the control ward, sees the Baron is happening, but that's the paranoia. The target is 5. He's getting chunked down so low, and he dies. Meanwhile, Doinby fighting on the other side, chased by SMLZ, finds another kill onto Mountain, as that's going to be Xiang leaping to safety with that blast cone. But already, that's our Rogue Warriors. They found 2 kills, they started the Baron. Let's just rinse and repeat from here.
In the last 2 fights, Icon's Akali actually never shadow dashed on anyone. He only did so on minions.
He could be saving for it, as that's
he doesn't
the
have an
slow.
opportunity.
He's got the ready now. Xiang steps forward, wind wall, but the Baron is finished off. And Rogue Warriors, 26 minutes in, 30 seconds after they start the Baron, finish it off and pick up themselves 2 kills as they make their way back onto the map now with a 5,000 gold advantage.
And here should start the Rogue Warriors' revenge, basically. They stuck through the early game. They played through an incredibly massive snowball onto the Akali, and now it's their time to start grouping up and just forcing the issue. If you look at OMG, they don't have much wave clear at all. It's going to be incredibly difficult to deal with this Baron buff.
Is it still revenge if they've already proved that they've gotten revenge? It was revenge in the first
for the
split.
early game.
Okay, revenge for the yeah, that's
what it is.
But perhaps Rogue Warriors in this game proving why they are the team that is going to Rift Rivals instead of OMG from last year.
I think they just, like, Stake is the coach. He's coming from LMS. He understands OMG too well. What OMG's always lacked is a secondary carry. He's not going to allow Mountain to fill that role. So he's taking away everything like the Graves, the Camille, champions that can play a pure carry role, and putting on something like Trundle. That's not what OMG needs at all. They have Xiang for that role.
The first tier 2 has fallen with Doinby leading the charge for his team. Meanwhile, the Baron banner cannon up top, pushing the other tier 2 as prepped by Mouse. He's got teleport, but he doesn't really need to use it because he can just walk up and finish that turret. There's no wave prepped bottom, so Rogue Warriors are just playing mid and top right now. Looks like bottom might slowly push in for them, though, given enough time.
And on 8.11, AP champions do 100% of their damage towards the towers. And this is a big reason why we aren't seeing marksmen anymore. You don't need them for the siege.
Now this inhibitor is being broken down, taking a lot of damage, and finally will get broken as the fling goes in. What's the last breath? Doinby is the target, but Paranoia denies any follow-up. Killua leads the charge, as does Doinby. They chase it forward, and they get the kill onto Chelly. Icon running for the fountain as he's lost his jungler. He's lost his Yasuo. He's lost his chance to turn this series around, as with a single minion, Rogue Warriors roll over OMG, flung into the fountain, but it doesn't matter. 16 kills to 11. Rogue Warriors take the win.
And we can see this as a bit of a stylistic mismatch for OMG in this current patch. They're still sticking to their assassins. They're playing fancy-pantsy picks like the Akali, but they aren't willing to go into the meat grinder. And this is what 8.11 is all about. It's about the big 5v5. It's about damage, AoE, and sticking in those team fights. And with Icon not showing any real progress in terms of his champion pool, there's a lot of big questions that OMG needs to answer.
We'll have to see if they can. They've got another 9 weeks to do so. as OMG start their split off 1-1, already a better win percentage ratio than in the spring split. So again, we're seeing growth from them. It just needs to be a little bit more. As you can see, Rogue Warriors making some deep bows as they make their way across. Mouse with the handshake to Mountain as they make their way back out on stage for this final bow for the team, as Rogue Warriors once again off to a strong start to the split. Take a bow over their win against OMG.
A lot of cool things that happened this game. SMLZ showing that he is willing to play outside of the box, going for the Karthus. The first game he's actually played on a non-marksman champion, really opening the floodgates to the available strategies for Rogue Warriors.
And the fan support appears to be warranted for this new team.
SMLZ is the best. That is what it says.
Uzi would like to have a word with the maker of that sign, I think. So just try and disprove that, but still an excellent performance in this series, taking that Karthus in Game 2, happily using the Requiem, and taking that Lucian in Game 1, showing that marksmen are not dead in 8-11. They're just unemployed.
Yeah, I would say crit marksmen are completely gone. But the rest of them, they're still thriving, they're still kicking. Some of them are trudging on through this difficult meta.
Hard times.
Yeah, it's just it's so interesting in terms of like the ban picks in this patch, because a lot of times you can't really predict what's going to happen. You can try to explain what's going to happen, but it's very hard when teams are throwing these different picks like the Akali in, like we've seen 2 new picks today, respective to their positions in Doinby's Kled, and of course in Karthus from SMLZ.
Yeah, so it is very exciting to see how the meta evolves and changes. Again, it's still very skirmish oriented. You can see how that worked out early for OMG with that gold advantage.
The big thing I want to point out is that I don't think the early mid-game snowball is enough to overcome what the meta has evolved into, the big brawling melee 5v5s. And at the start of the season, on the first day, we said we're probably never going to see a gold graph that is going to dip backwards and forwards, but it's starting to happen. And I find that incredibly interesting. Like, one part of the meta is incredibly strong. We know Scuttle contest is definitely still a thing, but it's falling on the wayside to the teamfight priority.
Interesting. Why do you think that is? Is it just the picks that we've started to fall into, the likes of Vladimir? We've got more Yasuos and Aurelias that allow for outplay turnarounds?
I think we're seeing a lot more bruisers in the mid lane. That's the big thing that's changing things, because at the start of the split, Aurelia used to be at the top priority. You could play him mid against anything, but once the Darius once the Kled starts showing up at the mid lane, that's no longer true. And you can see with all champions being tankier overall, then the assassin champions are actually losing their sway in terms of the team fight. I expect Zoe to go down, I expect Aurelia to go down, and I expect Icon's play to go down as well.
Oh, no, quite the tragedy for OMG. We'll have to see if they can recover, though. But now it's time for our analyst to break down that Rogue Warriors victory.
And I think the best thing that was really covered in that match is the opening of the floodgates. You know, now that SMLZ has moved away from traditional ADCs and grabs hold of the Karthus, suddenly Rogue Warriors again kind of crack open this whole other side of their diverse style.
Yeah, because it's still a hyper carry, even if it's just AP. It's interesting that they can now just play towards bottom lane. Because at first, this week, we were like, all right, it seems like SMLZ is just sticking to AD carries. Still sticking to the Kog'Maws, which are really difficult in this meta. But you're right about it. Now they're a lot more diverse in the bottom lane, so we might see something different pertaining to top lane.
Now that said, we did get our MVP vote in, and it was going to be man of the match over to Doinby on the Kled mid. So 2 games Kled mid, even though we had a fantastic performance from pretty much everyone involved in Rogue Warriors, as they do when they tend to win. It was the front man, if you will, the diva of Rogue Warriors that takes home the MVP.
Yeah, I want to even talk about the fact that he picked Kled when we all thought it was going to be Karthus mid. Like, no one has seen the Karthus in the bottom side of the map, so the Karthus comes mid lane. We see the Akali getting picked early on because it was like, that's a fantastic pick versus the Karthus, and then the Kled getting as a counter towards the Akali. So he did fantastically for himself in the lane. It's nice to see it come through.
Yeah, and even when we do see the Karthus in that bot lane, it's usually piloted by a mid laner in a 2v1 scenario. Yeah. So to see a Karthus truly in a 2v2 lane was something new for the LPL, as well as all the fiddlesticks cropping up. Yeah,
so now that we're seeing this much fiddlesticks, you can see how successful it is, I would say, if it's used properly. So the Rogue Warriors had a better control on the bottom side of the map and were able to weather the storm that was coming through in the early game. You have the now CC coming across, the ultimate being strong in team fights. Just a good pick.
Yeah, so I've got some good news and I've got some bad news now.
Lay down on me.
Okay, so the good news is that we are finally ready for our last best of 3 between Team WE and TOP Sports Gaming. The bad news is that neither Imp nor Mystic will be starting in this series. Now, folks back at home, we like to run our series on a delay because we want to make sure that you get to watch all of the action in the English broadcast. This game has already started, but you will see it from the very beginning. We will cover Champion Select, then throw to our casters from minute 1, second 1. But I have to get it out of the way. Imp, Mystic, they are not playing. Instead, it is going to be a brand new ADC, Gentle.
Okay, yeah. So Gentle starting it off and immediately looks like he's going to get his hands on the Kai'Sa pick. No, so people will wonder, where is Gentle from? From the LDL, in the same place where Mianhua and Yagao is coming from in the Ma 7 Club. Seems like they're farming out proper talents. And what you got your eyes on?
That's a Lee Sin.
That is a Lee Sin.
That's Condi's
Who's playing the Lee Sin? Hell yes, he's playing the Lee Sin. You thought he wouldn't do it? You think he'd wait until the next patch where it gets buffed? He's ready for it right now.
That's the thing, though. This is the standard Team WE. We pretty much got the entire party except for Mystic. This is the return of Condi, the return of Ben, 957, and CA, and that is pretty much a picture-perfect WE comp. The only thing that you would find strange there is actually the Jax pick. Normally that would be something like an Ornn or a tank for 957, but otherwise, Lee Sin. Signature pick for Condi. It's their opening game in their Xi'an Stadium, so of course he's going to do a crowd pleaser, but otherwise everything looks stock standard. On the other side, you got your Aatrox, you got your Zoes, you got your Lucian BS.
Yeah, so I'm wondering what we're going to be getting out of the WE composition, just because it looks like a good 1-3-1, or at least a 1-4 with the Jax on split, but even with that, you don't have that much strong enough, I would say, wave clear, I would say, with the Kai'Sa. So it's interesting to see, and 957 on a carry is pretty damn hype already. Like last time he was playing carries was a spring split when he went into MSI with
his
the Kled, Fizz. So he can do it, and it looks like going up against either Marn. We'll see who's actually rounding out the top lane for TOP, but going up against the Aatrox pick, it's all going to be about that top side.
So again, if we're saying that it's going to be about top side, it's 1-3-1 or split pushing potential from Team WE. Run me quickly through TOP's composition. Like, what are your win conditions there? Is it also split push? Because, I mean, you have pick potential between split push on Aatrox and Zoe as well.
So I like the laning phase from TOP on the bottom side of the map. Lucian, Braum, incredible versus Kai'Sa and Alistar.
One of the strongest 2v2s.
Exactly, and the range advantage, duelist advantage, I think that's really good for TOP's bottom side. And then we already talked about blind pick mid laners. Zoe is just a great win condition mid game because it's all about Sleepy Trouble bubble. If you don't have a win condition, throw out Sleepy Trouble bubbles. So bot side is looking good, and then the Aatrox on split. So it seems like they just have a lot of win conditions of split, poke, and then duel. So they can really find out which lane is working out well for them and then just try and attack that.
So if you had to look at just the compositions, you remove the nameplates, who do you favor here?
TOP.
TOP. Now that you see the nameplates, who do you favor here?
WE. You know, that's how life is sometimes.
Yeah, that's definitely how it is. Now, with going back to the Kai'Sa, do you think that if we're going to be, again, this game of betting, is that AP Kai'Sa or AD Kai'Sa? Because I believe the two Kai'Sas that we've seen in the LPL have both been AP.
Yeah, I think AP is just better. Even with the nerfs that have come across to her passive, the way you build into her is just so much better in the early game because you have Nashor's Tooth and the recipes for Nashor's Tooth. Rabadons, the recipes for Rabadons, it's all easy to go for. You have very clear power spikes. So, I mean, there's not much you can do for that one, but if you go straight crit, then the power spike is just actually at the end.
I also think it's the cool thing about where it moves for power spikes, because she is a champion that her stats are gated, or her power is gated by stats.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, with a lot of the flat ingredient buys into this AP, as well as the changes moving her into more AP scaling, that she's able to acquire those power spikes a little bit earlier, which works in this meta.
And what I like about it the most is that you have so many options defensively once you get to your fourth item. You can go Banshee's Veil, Zhonya's. So as an AD carry, having that option into the AP pool, it's pretty sick.
So you've heard from us, you've seen the draft, and we're going to go ahead and sit it over to the casters. It's Fish this time, taking up the play-by-play.